their garage. Well, it is hot as Hades out here, and that reminds me of why I bought the ProAir tie-in air conditioning kit to put in the back of the Ram Promaster 2500, my new van, my new locksmith van. We're going to be installing this baby. Now, I'm excited that when I'm working in the back of the van, it'll be nice and cool during the summer and warm during the winter, but I got to put the thing in. And there's some good and there's some bad. The good part is the kit looks really, really nice. I think it's going to look super in the van. The bad part is there's barely any instructions. ProAir doesn't have an installation kit. They don't have like any type of directions. They have been super helpful. Now, I will say that. Everybody there has been super helpful, like, oh no, you need to do it this way or that way, but there's still parts I'm not sure exactly where they go or what's supposed to be going on with them. So let's take a look, and if you get a ProAir kit, hopefully this video will go through the little stuff that I didn't know and help you out. So let's take a look. Alright, I got it in. This is the ProAir kit. Came in a semi. It doesn't weigh very much. This is the panel. We'll take a look at that here in just a little bit, but I am thrilled, man. I can start getting this thing put together. We'll take it apart, see what's in it, all that other garbage. Well, I got everything unboxed, and this is the whole kit. There's the business end of it, right there. Got all the hoses and fittings and pumps and all the other garbage. So I'm going to have to decipher out what to do with all this stuff. But looks good. I am super, super happy. The plastic that they put in it looks freaking awesome. And it covers up that whole top section there. But it's about to rain, so I'm going to stick this stuff back in and see if I can cipher out what parts to start on, because there's a lot to do. The back of the van is looking pretty awesome. I got a lot of the lighting in that I wanted. I got under cabinet lights. I got lights over the little workstation there. I got my desk in. Sadly though, I'm going to probably have to take out this divider again to put in the ProAir unit. And there it is right there. It mounts up in here. I probably should have waited to put up this insulation also, but I can tell a huge difference on the roof as far as the insulation goes. This is the rear air unit, the 552 from ProAir. It mounts up here on this beam, and it's got two brackets that basically are made for this. They go like that. So I may not have to take out this insulation, but super cool how that mounts. I've got to drill a hole all the way through. They did send me some pictures of how this thing goes up in there, so that'll be one of the next steps. I would assume, since I don't have any directions, that it needs to go to the very center of this and center of here. That's going to be my guess. This is the fascia board unit that goes up in there. I'm sure going to have to do some modification because of the divider in here to be able to get that panel in and figure out how it's going to go. I went ahead and separated all the heater lines. These are heater lines. This is refrigeration. This is a drain line here. And then this is another refrigeration, so we'll have to figure all that out. Well, it does fit, but I can tell you that I'm going to have to do some cutting and adjusting for the cage to go over this. It kind of mounts right here, so anyway, we'll get that mounted up there and then see what it looks like. I took that black plastic piece underneath because it was just in the way. It was actually hitting on the bottom here, so you got to strip it down to nothing. I'll probably put some insulation over the headliner once we get this installed, but there you go. So now I'm going to kind of see where this is going to end up to put bolts through the holders. Got one here and one there, and I'm going to put the fascia on it and see if that comes out about right. Okay, that's cool. That's about where I want to be with it. There's going to be a gap at the top. I'll probably put insulation all the way up there, but that looks good as far as like the centered portion, so we'll get it mounted. Alright, I got the brackets mounted. You got to go with the long bolts through here. I use the two self-tappers underneath just to hold it up, keep it in place before I could drill these holes, and it looks good. I'm happy with that. It's pretty close. This one may be over just a hair this way than that one, but you're talking a 1/4 inch either way, so that looks good. Alright, so I bolted it back up there and it looks really super good. I'm happy with that. Wish there was cold air blowing out of it right now because it is hot in here. I also would say this, once I get done, I'm going to go ahead and put insulation underneath it, just because it'll deaden the sound from this unit, the fan motor, into the cab, and it'll also just keep it a little bit better insulated. Alright, this is what's got to go from the top to the bottom. This is your wiring harness that goes up to the unit. You can tell from the 2 pigtails and the pressure switch wiring. Then I got refrigerant hoses, drain hoses, and the heater hose. And the heater hose is the one that you got to spend a little bit of time getting it right for the correct flow. So what I'm going to do is cut this in half because they just sent bulk, and then I'll show you where we're going from there. All right, when you cut any of these lines, you're going to want to use like some kind of tubing cutter that gives you a nice straight cut, clean, rather than, you know, hacking it with a hacksaw or a pocket knife, because it does matter. All right, they sent 60 feet of hose, which will be 2 lengths of 30 feet, which I guarantee is a little bit too long, and I'll cut it off in the engine compartment, but from the top, that's where we'll start. But I'll cut this baby in half and then we'll get it marked. All right, I got my heater hoses marked red and orange. You can kind of see there with just 3M electrical tape. I just wrapped it around about every 2 or 3 feet, just so you can tell them apart. And the reason I picked those colors is because that's the colors they used. I don't really care, orange, red, blue, green. But since they use those colors, it may make it a little bit easier. I don't have to transpose anything. That's where the red line goes, that's where the orange line goes. So awesome. Now I'm going to get the line sets kind of put together. Okay, so I got everything kind of connected together with a little electrical tape. My 2 heater hoses, the 2 refrigerant hoses, and the wiring harness, and all this is going to go up top. And I got to drill a 3-inch hole, so that's going to be an experience. Let's take a look at where we're going to put our hole to go up in there, because that's kind of critical. When I was talking to Eric, he says, yeah, just make a 3-inch hole. He goes, now kind of be careful about wires. So let's look for some wires and make sure that we don't drill through like a main harness or something. That'd be awesome. They did send me a picture of the hose routing, but it truthfully doesn't say where it comes out. It also doesn't say anything about the drain hose where it terminates, but that helps a little bit. This is what stinks when you have a redneck garage and it starts to rain. Killed all my progress! Alright, I got the hole drilled 3 inches. It's a little bit further than I'd like, but the way that the van is made, there's actually the unibody frame here at the end, so I had to come out right past that, and then this will clear my partition, and then the harness comes up here, so now I can start my evaporator connections and get everything zipped up in here, drain line, all that crap. Here's the fittings that came with the drain line with the connectors, and it's got a T, so we're just going to do 1 drain line coming off, running down in the same hole, just to make it neat. On the top you got your coolant that goes here, 2 coolant lines, drain here, drain over on the bottom of that one, heat, and then 2 power. And then you've got those 2 connectors right there for your switch. Alright, so I got my first hiccup. I tried to loosen up the connector for the drain, and then the whole thing came off because the nut wasn't tight on the back side. So great, now I got to figure out how to take it apart to get this piece back on, otherwise it'll just leak everywhere. Dang. So I had to get to this point, taking the whole stinking thing apart to get to the nut that goes on the back side, and I can kind of reach underneath now. So I'm going to put this nut back on here that someone just didn't feel like tightening up, and then we'll be ready to put it back together. A big, huge waste of time on that. Jeez. Okay, got the drain hose on. How awesome is that? I'll make sure everything's tight. All that work just to put on that one hose. Okay, so your kit's going to come with 4 different connectors for the ends of the hoses. One goes to the block, that's the adapter block that goes up inside the engine compartment. And the other ones are going to hook into here. The one with the nut's going to go in your engine compartment, right? Your large and your small. And the one with the threads are going to go up here in the top section. Now I got to go get some mineral oil, because you got to use oil when you put these O-rings on, and then we'll clamp these down. This is the clamp tool. This is a Murray, which is made by an air conditioning company, and it's an A4000. I think you can probably use like a PEX tool. For safety, I went ahead and got the one that goes to it, because I don't want to have any leaks on an air conditioning system up inside a roof of a van, which would suck. Now when you're going to do these, they just whack these off of a big roll, I guess, at ProAir, but you can see that the ends aren't square, so you want to make sure that you cut your ends square, you know, with a rigid cutter or a tubing cutter like that. That way, when it seats up there, it's completely flat. Alright, so the first thing I'll do is go ahead and square my ends up. Make sure that they're good and square, like that, on both of them. So that's good and square, ready to go on to the fittings. Got these two fittings. Don't lose your O-ring because it's just kind of floating around in there. This is the one that goes on the top unit, the threaded one. There's our fitting. Right. Looks good. Everything looks lined up. I'll take my crimper, open it all the way up. There's one. There's two. And my line is on. It's ready to go. I'm going to do the other one and then we'll be able to put it in there. And the O-ring goes right here on the end. Alright, so I got the orange on the top and the red on the bottom, and I'm not exactly sure which one goes where. I got to get some clarification on that, but as long as I know what one's up here, that's all that really matters. I got to hook up my wires and it's ready to set up into the hole. Awesome. Alright, so far so good. I got my two ground wires just screwed into here. Should be good. Everything's plugged up. I got to put my other bolts in here, but my lines are all run down. I've got to connect the drain line, but other than that, she's good to go. So this part is done. Alright, so that's video 1 of 2. I thought I'd split them up, right? As far as like putting in the upstairs unit, didn't have that many problems. You do have to take everything out of that hole. It's got to be pretty much cleared off. I did take just spray foam. I tested it and I used window spray foam in there and just kind of coated that hole over the headliner. It didn't stain it or push it out or anything, but it does make it super quiet. So that worked really well. Just put spray foam in there and just kind of let it expand a little bit. Not the regular spray foam, but the windows and doors low expansion, right? That works better. And routing the wires down, that was easy. The next video will be the challenging part, is hooking up all the electrical, trying to hide it, and doing the refrigeration on it and the heating lines. So keep watching. Maybe this thing will cool and heat. I'm David from the Redneck Garage. Keep turning wrenches.